Hello everyone and welcome to the latest Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo. I'm your host Joe Rimmer and joining me today on the pod is Ian Doyle. How are we, Ian?
I'm okay, Joseph. How would you find self?
I'm fine, thank you very much for asking. And also joining us is Beth Lindop. How are we, Beth?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Yeah, Widnes and St Helens representatives.
Dean Windass.
Didn't have to expose us like that so early on in the podcast.
It's great. So I hope you
and Runcorn.
I hope you two can get on today. That's the main thing. Unlike Liverpool and Man City,
they can easily get on. That's just a load of nonsense.
Well, Liverpool and Man City. Yeah, I want to talk about this because you don't, Ian. So I always like to talk about things you don't want to talk about. It is the big one this weekend, the very big one, as it says in the title.
Somewhat big one.
Yeah, we are live on YouTube, so if you've got a question, pop it in the chat and we'll try and get round to it. Ian, our producer, is also following on Facebook, so he'll drop any chats to me, any questions in the chat to me. It is Friday, I am tired. And we will try and get round to answering them in the course of the podcast. We will start off with the City aggro. I know there was a game last night. We will talk Sparta Prague, we'll talk Michael Edwards, and we will talk a lot about Man City. But I think we'll start with the City aggro. Because
what is the City aggro, Joe? Please,
I just think it's quite interesting.
Educate me on this.
I thought Jurgen Klopp gave a really good answer. It was the first question in the press conference from Vinny from Sky Sports today. Following up on some comments Trent made to 4-4-2, which were quite quickly blown out of context. I think
he would do that.
I mean, to be fair, we didn't. So I'm quite happy with that. But yeah, they were quite quickly blown out of context. Trent was basically said that titles with Liverpool mean more to the fans of Liverpool. Who'd have thought? And Man City didn't really react very well to it.
It didn't.
Erling Haaland sort of had a little dig about the treble, and then Ruben Dias followed that up with a little dig of his own about the treble as well.
It's weird.
You were at the press conference, and I thought Klopp kind of summed it up really, really well.
Well, what was interesting is that Jurgen Klopp, before he even answered the question, said, "I've already been told," and on the lines of, "I've already been told what to say and what I can't say for this." And he says, "Wait until I get asked the question first." So obviously, he'd been headed off in the sense that he knew that he was going to be, well, somebody knew that he was going to be asked this question, and then he just basically gave his own answer anyway, which was, "So what?" Essentially, he said, "You can't tell me that Liverpool don't respect Man City," and what Trent said is entitled to his own view, and I've got no problem with what he said. And that was it, basically. Admittedly, he said it in a lot longer than that, and a lot more verbose and with greater insight than I can manage, because I'm not the manager of Liverpool. However, what I am is somebody who's watched these games and listened to them all talk about it, and listened to what Manchester City's players have said in the wake of Trent's comments, which, by the way, must have been made about 4 to 6 weeks ago if they're appearing in 4-4-2 in the current edition, which was only out this week or towards the end of last week, I think. So it's he's probably said them while he wasn't injured for a start, so he's not playing on Sunday, which is probably worth bearing in mind as well. But the way that City have reacted does, it gives the impression that they're all singing off the same hymn sheet. So whether or not they've all been told, "Oh, we don't like the sounds of that, make sure you get this point across." And I think City, I'm going to be honest, I think City's players are coming out of it really poorly. And I almost don't even think that they're the ones that actually want to say it. I think, not saying they've been coerced into saying it, but they've just been told, if you are going to get asked about this, make sure you say this. Is what my view of it would be. My very long
Ian Doyle conspiracy theory.
It's not a conspiracy theory. It's just obviously what people do in the media industry. I haven't been in it for more than a quarter of a century. I know the way these things work, and it's just added a little bit of spice to the game, I suppose, that doesn't really need it. But the other thing is that Klopp was very keen to put across that Liverpool have nothing but respect for Man City. And while it's fair to say that the fans don't particularly get on some of the incidents that's happened and some of the chants that have been happening over the past 3, 4, 5 years, 6 years in fact, that when it comes to the actual on the pitch, there's not really much aggro. I mean, there was a bit of a kick-off last season at the Etihad, but that was towards the referee from Liverpool players, Simon Hooper, when he didn't give a decision and City went off and... Oh, Ruben Dias... No, it wasn't. It was Rodri, wasn't it? He didn't get sent off, yeah. So that wasn't even a City player. So, and you look at Guardiola and Klopp on the sidelines and, they really, really get on. They battled as well, didn't they, in Germany with Bayern Munich and Borussia Dortmund. So they've got great respect. We saw how much respect that Klopp's got for Pep, and, I went to a rare event of me actually attending a function, which was about 4 or 5 years ago, which was the Northwest Awards Day. I got invited, actually, me and James Pearce, formerly of this parish.
So what you're saying is you put yourself forward for an award?
I did not put myself forward for an award. What I'm saying is that we got
Can we clip that? Ian Doyle put himself forward to an award.
I did not put myself forward for an award because almost all journalism awards are nonsense, and I'm glad you brought that up. But I was invited along with James because of the Echo's fine coverage of Liverpool in the Champions League. Basically Klopp and Pep were both very pally. One followed the other and said, "I want that trophy. I want this one," pointing at the Premier League and the Champions League, and it took Man City a bit longer, but they ended up getting the Champions League, and that's been sorted. So, I just think, grow up, is what I think. What I would also say, by the way, we said this just before the podcast started, is that got news for you. I think Leicester's winning the league in 2016 probably means more for them, relatively speaking, than Liverpool fans winning Liverpool winning the league in 2020. Depending on how old you are, if you're a Liverpool fan who's only like under the age of 35, you can't remember them winning the league, and they've had that long waiting. I suppose that would seem massively important winning it in 2020. But Leicester fans had no idea they were going to win it in 2016. It's still probably the greatest Premier League story there's ever been. So, I would say that, and I don't see any Liverpool players or Man United or Man City or Chelsea or Blackburn or who else has won it? Arsenal. I don't see any of their fans moaning at Leicester if a Leicester fan came out and said that. So,
don't you think there's and before we continue, sorry, I've been a bit rude today. I'm a bit tired, so thank you for listening. So just to our listeners, thank you for listening. If you're listening on podcasts, thank you very much. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Whether you're from America, Australia, we ran through a few of these last time. Ireland, any other part of the world, thank you for listening. We really appreciate Ireland. We appreciate your support. Give us a like, please. Give us one of those thumbs up. Subscribe, press the bell. Which is a totally normal YouTube thing, but Ian Doyle gives me a strange look every time I say that.
I give you a strange look when you say most things, to be fair.
Yeah, but thank you so much for listening. But yeah, I think with City, there's one word in Trent's interview that I think is the reason why they're all getting very defensive, Beth, and that's because he said financially, and he brought up money, and I think with City there will always be a bit of the chip on their shoulder because everything they do is framed within, but you've got loads of money. And I said to you earlier, before we came on the pod, I don't understand why City players, when they sign for City, if you're Erling Haaland and you're signing for Man City, you absolutely know that is part of that's part of City, isn't it? You know when you go to City that will always be the narrative because they do have loads of more money than almost any other club in the world. They have more advantages in that area that of the club. So I don't really get why they take that so badly. Just enjoy winning all the things you're going to win because you're guaranteed trophies. Where as Liverpool, I think it's a process. You're not guaranteed as much. Other fans of other clubs might think otherwise. But I think with Liverpool, it's felt like more of an effort to get to where they've got to under Klopp. Whereas Man City and Pep always felt quite inevitable with the money they had. Do you think that's fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. I think that sums it up perfectly. Really, I think that narrative is always going to be there for Manchester City and. Perhaps it irks their players a little bit when you look back at the season that Liverpool were on for a quadruple and they missed out on the two big ones, the Premier League and the Champions League. The amount of fans, I think it was close to 500,000, turned out to watch that parade the following day. And you look at Manchester City's parade for the treble last year was probably, fewer than that number out on the streets of Manchester. And
that's about as many as is in this room now.
But I think, there were a number of City fans, match-going fans who've stuck with them from the dark days to now, and you've got to give them credit for supporting them and staying with them, and they're getting the rewards for that. And I don't necessarily always think it's fair to slam them for the amount of fans that they've got because ultimately that's where they are, and that's no fault of the players. And but I do think maybe sometimes it does irk them that they know that this narrative is there, even though, as you say, it's maybe something they just need to take on the chin and acknowledge. I think to come to the defence a little bit of Erling Haaland, certainly, I don't know the context that Ruben Diaz was asked the question in, but I think it was put to Haaland with very little context. And, the interviewer was looking for, to stoke the rivalry, stoke the flames, which we are guilty of doing sometimes in the media. Including you in that, Ian Doyle.
Nope, I would never do that.
Never.
But I think he said he obviously responded maybe in the heat of the moment a little bit, and it's made it into a bigger thing than it needed to be. But as Doyle said earlier on, the respect between the managers, the respect between the players on the pitch is there, And hopefully that won't be sort of the overarching theme going into Sunday's game.
I think what's happened there, though, is that the one thing that City have always wanted is recognition and the love of the people. And unfortunately, you're never going to get that if you are this team with, as I always write, the unique set of advantages that they have over most teams. I just think you're right. Actually, congratulations, you're right. You're right in what you said.
Can we clip this? Can we clip this? Just that bit.
You're right.
Yeah, we don't. Right. Thanks for listening to the Blood Red podcast. We'll be back on Monday.
You're right when you said that about Haaland. He knows quite well that what he was walking into. That's why he joined Man City, because they had a really good chance of winning stuff.
Exactly.
Because this is the thing. There've always been teams that have had more money than others. I mean, going back to the 60s, before my time, incredibly, Everton had the money. They were known as the Mersey millionaires. I mean, the difference between the haves and the have-nots now is far bigger than it was back then, for obvious reasons. But so, I just think City should just, the best thing. If this is going to sound ridiculous, the best thing City could do is just go and wipe the floor with Liverpool on Sunday and shut up. That's what they should do. Yeah, which is what they should be aiming to do, rather than get embroiled in all of this. And I think it doesn't reflect well on them. And I think it's the one thing, isn't it? Not the players, I'm just about the club generally. And in fact, not even the players in the squad, it's just the hierarchy of the club, is that you can push on their buttons, can't you?
Yeah.
Anybody watch on the YouTube
you can
can
feel
see
it
me
in
just
Pep,
pushing.
can't you?
I'm not pressing the bell, I'm just pushing the button.
Yeah. You can feel it with Pep, can't you? Every time Pep speaks, it's like he's dying for recognition. But I think, well, if you're that worried about the love, like you say, of the people, then Pep, go and manage a mid-table team and see if you can get them.
I don't even think he needs to do that.
He doesn't need to,
do that.
but ultimately, by
not
going
his
to Man
fault.
City,
It's not his
but
fault.
it is his fault. He chose that job, didn't he? And if you go to Man
You're
City,
telling me you wouldn't?
no, I'm not saying that I wouldn't, but I think if you choose that job, you know that, you're not going to get, people aren't going to rush and say, wow, what an incredible, I mean, they do say that about Pep all the time, but he's not going to get, it's not this fairy tale story. It's like, and I've only ever seen the first two and I've only ever watched them once, but it's like Rocky 2,
You've only seen the first two?
Yeah, and I've only ever watched
Honestly.
them once.
I've not seen any of
You haven't
them.
it? What?
I
Rocky
don't,
One
I don't
is
like
very
sports
good.
films because you kind of know
That's
the
not
results.
really a sports
but
film.
anyway, so my point is that,
By the way, I
the
just
Russian
shouted that
fella.
loud that those people over there just turned around and
Hi. Ivan Drago, he has all the advantages. He has all the sports science.
This is Rocky 4, by the way.
Is that Rocky 4? I don't mind. But there's
Rocky
that
3
many.
is Mr. T.
This is descending
Rocky 2
into chaos.
Which one's Rocky 2? He fights Thingy again, doesn't he?
Yeah, he fights Apollo.
Okay. Well, Rocky 4, sorry. But anyway,
Don't watch Rocky 5, it's terrible.
my analogy. Get back to my analogy. Ivan Drago has all the advantages. Rocky's there training in the snow. No one's watching that film going, come on, Ivan, come on. Let's see if he can pull out this win. And that's Man City. People aren't going to be cheering for them other than their already established fan base.
But again, what I would say about Man City as well is that Pep, what he's done there with the players, they are literally, and I think I'm quite right in saying this, and I don't care if anybody disagrees with me, they are literally the best team that's ever played football ever, anywhere, ever. As a club team, anyway. They are the best, right? Because they have made the most. You could go in, there's like teams like have had loads of money. Some teams have had loads of money for years and they haven't done it properly. Whereas City, well, I'm sure we'll find out eventually whether or not they've done it legally or not. That's something that's obviously cases pending. But for what they've done, you literally cannot do it any better. And that Liverpool actually have been able to compete, and Arsenal now recently have been able to compete with them over a consistent period of time. Shows you how well them two have done.
I think if you want like an embodiment of the difference between City and Liverpool is you look at Haaland compared to Darwin Nunes. Haaland is just the epitome of a City player, isn't he? He's a superstar. He's quite mechanical. He scores goal after goal after goal. He had a big miss at the weekend, but most of the time he puts them in the back of the net. Darwin Nunes is a bit like the flawed hero, isn't he? Who's had to sort of battle to get to where he is, and he's adored by the fan base because of it. And I think that is reflective, more overarchingly, of the two clubs and where they're at.
Yeah, hello to Stuart Tudor, who's watching from Da Nang, Vietnam, but his hometown is the Pleasure Peninsula. It was the Wirral.
That's not a town.
The Pleasure Peninsula.
It's not a town.
That's
an
not
area.
the point. It's an area. It's home area. It's not really a turn of phrase, is it? My home area, my hometown.
Region.
Yeah,
There you
and
go,
a few
region.
people making reference to 115 charges, which again, City can't get away from that.
Well, we just mentioned them. But they might be proven innocent, and then
They might be. One thing I would say is I totally agree, and I think Pep Guardiola is an incredible manager. I think they've got incredible players. I love watching loads of them. Bernardo Silva, might not love him as a person's not the right word, but he's sort of
As a
spiky,
footballing
isn't he? But
personality.
as a footballer, God,
Yeah.
he's so good to watch. I really like to watch Grealish, and De Bruyne is as
You
good
haven't
as
even
they get.
mentioned Phil Foden yet. And of
Phil
course, Phil
Foden.
Foden's a player who cost them absolutely nothing.
Yeah, Phil Foden is incredible. The only other team I'd say that competes with them, like you said, for maybe the best footballing team ever, is Pep's Barcelona team, which swept it all before it. What was that,
2008, 9, 10,
yeah,
11.
yeah, God, in that period anyway. But what a football team that was. But yeah, I just don't, I think they need to get over this need for love, because
Yeah, just keep winning stuff. Another thing.
there's no
that
romance about them.
I think to a certain degree, Liverpool and Scousers to a point,
Hmm.
I think they're a lot less hung up on. They know themselves.
Yeah.
Whereas I think with Manchester, not Mancunians, but Manchester City as a club, I still think they don't know who they are.
Yeah, they're trying to create an identity, aren't they,
Yeah.
almost? But they do have an identity, like Beth said before. They've got a traditional fan
Yeah,
base, a
but
good
the
fan
traditional
base.
identity was that
But
they were not Man
yeah,
United.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they also weren't very good, but
Yeah.
stuck through thick or thin. So it's really interesting anyway. And I think it's funny, isn't it? Because when Liverpool established that rivalry with Chelsea, which kind of like was my sort of teenage years, they were like polar opposites. There was like this Liverpool team that didn't have as much money, that was trying to piece together a team, but constantly sort of losing players or things like that happening. And then Chelsea, who had everything, two politically opposed clubs, and I think not completely the same, but there's something similar going on with Liverpool and City, and it's created quite the rivalry.
Well, I'm glad we didn't talk about that.
Well, yeah, I told you we were going to talk.
Considering you didn't want to talk about it, you did actually have quite a lot to say.
That's why I
Most of
didn't
it was
want to talk about it,
insightful.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, moving on to Michael Edwards' return late last night. Some news broke, Doyle, that FSG, John Henry, and Mike Gordon had spoken to Michael Edwards in the USA. It feels like this one's Liverpool are really going after it, and I don't know what sort of gut feeling do you have?
My gut feeling is that they really obviously respect Michael Edwards and the stuff
Yeah.
that he's done. My also gut feeling is that this is going to again sound a little bit odd. It's almost like they don't trust themselves in terms of where they're going next, because they've got two big decisions to make. The sporting director's a lot less big a decision than who the next manager is. And I think they know that Edwards knows about the club. He knows the way things work, and he's got very good judgment, as we've seen with players and the people that he knows in terms of who he regards as good in the recruitment areas as well. So I think they want him to come back, not as sporting director, because Edwards has got no interest in that. Why would he come back? But as kind of a senior overseer,
run the club, won't he?
yeah, would he? But that's the thing. I think that might be a sticking. But I'm pretty sure if they said to him, "Hey, you can run the club," he'll go, "Okay." But I'm not sure whether or not they want to go that far. But there would be a more senior role than sporting director, and he would then take on the part of the responsibility of then appointing a new sporting director and a manager.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense, wouldn't it, for him to run football operations. We always talk about, and again, like, not to keep talking about rivals, but Man United are the type of club, it's about making good appointments. But Michael Edwards feels like the absolute right appointment to run all of Liverpool's football operations, does he not?
yeah, particularly when there's been there's going to be so much upheaval in the summer with not just Jurgen Klopp going, but a lot of his backroom staff as well. To have someone who knows the club inside out and has such a high standing within the industry would be massive. Would bring sort of a little bit of continuity back to Liverpool, and maybe stop the chaos that would perhaps stem from bringing in two completely new people who don't know the club at all. I think my only concern is, I think now Michael Edwards has this sort of, he's viewed as this almost like godlike figure who doesn't get anything wrong, who never got anything wrong during his time at Liverpool, and it's almost like he is seen as the only solution to managing a club like Liverpool in terms of behind the scenes. And I think he obviously did an excellent job at Liverpool. The players that he managed to entice to the club are well documented, but that wasn't just a singular effort. The manager will have played a part in that, the other people behind the scenes at the club as well. So I think if he doesn't come back to Liverpool, I think now it will be viewed as a bit of a failure from the outside world, because they've made such a concerted effort to go in and get him. And I don't necessarily think that should be the case, because while he's very good at his job, there's a lot of people in football who are very good at the jobs, and I don't think he is this godlike figure that he seems to have sort of taken on the guise of in recent months.
Yeah, I take that. I think it still will be a massive PR win for FSG.
Yeah, no, I do. I would like him back.
Yeah.
But
Michael Edwards is not God. That has got to be the headline for this podcast.
I think that Beth makes a good point, though, in the sense that there's this weird throughout football now, this absolute hang up on sporting directors and these mythical figures that we don't see their day to day. We don't
That's
see.
why.
But
That's
yeah,
entirely
exactly.
why. Yeah.
But we sort of pin all the success, all the failure on them, and Michael Edwards. What I always find, the more you read about Michael Edwards and the more you hear about it, it wasn't just the data. It wasn't just, he didn't just get on his laptop and pull out some stats and buy a player like that.
Basis
that was the basis. It was the relationships. It was speaking with agents. I think Carragher put in his column, didn't he, recently, about how he'd spoken to Michael Edwards and it was the relationship with agents which underpinned a lot of Liverpool's success in the transfer market and working with the manager in other areas. And I think that's why I think Edwards would be a big coup for Liverpool, because he clearly knows how to form those relationships. He clearly has great contacts. Some of his biggest successes was finding out about the clauses in contracts, which again, Julian Ward obviously was responsible for the Alexis McAllister one. So those types of things are really, really important, and I think Michael Edwards would bring that. He's obviously very well connected, but like you say, there's more people out there, and I mean, look, there was a lot of people laughing and making jokes about Jörg Schmacker and his Villa, Ibiza Villa and all that, but he didn't do a bad job, did he, in the short time?
You should
he was
never
at
laugh
Liverpool.
about Ibiza Villa, to be honest.
And I thought
Bring
he did
him
very
back,
well.
I say.
Yeah, I don't think it's gone anywhere. I think he's still there now, actually.
But,
Listen to this.
But I just think it would be a huge PR win for FSG if they could bring him back, because already Liverpool fans will have someone that they know and trust and believe in, and it gives them a bit of time to create the right manager. Saying that, there's a process going on here, Doyle, and obviously they want Edwards first and they want a sporting director. There's a lot of talk about Bayern Munich moving quickly for Alonso. Is there a slight worry that in trying to do it the correct way, FSG aren't potentially doing it the fastest way? No.
Do you really think that Alonso doesn't already know that Liverpool want him as manager?
Yeah, but then
I don't think.
if
If
you're
Alonso, it's now basically the only thing that has to be determined now is his brain, what he wants to do, because he can either stay at Bayern Leverkusen, go to Bayern Munich, or go to Liverpool.
Yeah. But,
so I don't think anyone's going to be doing any kind of persuading, because he can see it. He knows what Liverpool are about. He certainly knows what Bayern are about. Leverkusen, are about, and he knows what Bayern are about as well, because he played there. And he's up against them, and he's going to win the league ahead of them. So he'll know exactly what their weaknesses are, and he'll know how to strengthen them.
I think it's telling as well. A lot of the noise that has come out over the last couple of weeks about him, apparently favouring a move to Bayern has come from Germany. It's come from the Bayern camp, and why on earth would a team that is the perennial champions like Bayern are try and unsettle the biggest title rivals in heading into the run-in? I wonder why. So I don't think any of that is to be taken too seriously. And like Doyle said, he knows 100% he's the most coveted young manager in football at the moment. Maybe even Real Madrid might come in for him. Looks less likely than Bayern or Liverpool. But I think he will basically have his pick of clubs in the summer, and he'll probably already have. He'll obviously be focusing now on Leverkusen, but he'll probably have an idea of what job he's favouring for next season.
The only thing that might dissuade him is following on from Klopp. And that's exactly the same thing for every manager. But there will always be those who, the Sporting Lisbon guy, he'll obviously go, well, I quite fancy this. And he's one that Liverpool, again, on the list. Going back to talking about Michael Edwards, if Michael Edwards doesn't take this job, it doesn't change Liverpool's what they need to do. It's just a little added extra that can help them out.
Yeah.
I think as well, if you going back to the sporting director thing, you've only got to look at the whole saga now going on with Manchester United and Dan Ashworth. It's almost like, as with many facets of the modern game, money is becoming a huge factor, even in terms of sporting directors. The fee that Newcastle wanted off United for Ashworth to go there, and they're almost becoming personalities in their own right, which I don't necessarily like. I think sporting directors, I think one of the brilliant things about Michael Edwards while he was at the club was he was sort of, Liverpool fans knew what he was and what he did, but I don't think he was like this big, prominent figure that we saw a lot of or heard a lot from, and I think that's what sporting directors should be all about.
But funny enough, it's the reverse, isn't it? Abroad, like in Germany, the sporting directors do all the talking. Really, they do a lot.
That's where Schmacker didn't say a single word.
Yeah. And every club has one. They are big appointments. They are, Bayern Munich have just appointed a new one, haven't they, in a Bale? So, but my worry with Alonso is that I still think human nature comes into this, and if Bayern come along and go, we're going early, we're going to make you a good offer, good money, the type of good money to transform the club, good wages, a good project, and they're saying to Alonso, tell us now, because we need to know, we want to know. But there could be an element of him going like, all right, I know that Liverpool are interested, but they're still got to sort out Michael Edwards, they've still got to sort out a sporting director. What if that sporting director and Michael Edwards sit down and go, you know what, actually,
Okay, but
we don't think Alonso's the right man.
The flip side to that, if you're Alonso the human, goes, well, hang on, I'm trying to beat Bayern Munich here, and they're coming to me. They're approaching me while I'm still trying to beat them, and they're trying to unsettle me. Are they trying to unsettle me? And if I'm in charge of them, are they going to do exactly the same thing in case something goes wrong?
Yeah.
I just think as well with Alonso, and I could be completely, way off the mark here. Obviously, it's his former club. It's a huge club, Bayern Munich, so he may well want to go and manage there. But I just think for him to go immediately from Leverkusen to Bayern after, it looks like he's going to win them their first ever league title. Obviously, the fans will be, eternally grateful to him, and he doesn't owe them anything. But I think it would maybe tarnish his legacy ever so slightly going there instantly. I think one day he might be Bayern manager, but I think that will play a huge part. I think he might not want to go directly from Leverkusen to Bayern.
I think as well, for Alonso, if he went to Liverpool and did 3 years at Liverpool, it didn't quite work out. As long as it wasn't a total disaster,
He'd get another chance at Bayern.
Still get Bayern. If he won the league with Bayer Leverkusen, I still think the Bayern job comes up, every couple of years almost? Whereas the Liverpool job comes up, what's probably on average now over the last 20, 30 years, probably once every 6, 7 years.
6.
Yeah, so like, I just think if Alonso wants the Liverpool job, and I know it's going to be hard following Klopp, but you look at the squad, there's probably, in some respects, no better time to take the Liverpool job. It's a much easier job than it was when Benitez took over, or when Houllier took over, or even when Klopp took over.
Well, this is the easiest time to take over Liverpool since Joe Fagan took over from Bob Paisley.
Exactly. So obviously you've got a hard person to follow in Klopp, but also you've got the best set of players there since, like you say, the 80s. So I think for me, we were talking last night, and I said, yeah, I'm all in on Alonso now. I just think he's got the personality. He's got, they came back from 2 goals down last night to keep their unbeaten record. And I know it's only against
Jamie Carragher's
Karabakh.
suitcase.
Yeah. That's good for you. But for all that, there just seems to be an aura about him and about them. And I'm pretty sure if he leaves Leverkusen in the summer, they will drop down the league, because he just
Well, they're not going to go up.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. He just seems to have that aura
yeah.
about him. You're not all in on a manager? You told me last night.
I'm not all in on anyone, though. Just keeping it. Hang on, I'm not even
Keeping it
picking it.
open,
You know what I mean? It's got nothing to do with
No,
me.
no.
But I'm
But
just
personally, you can have an opinion.
no. I'm just because I've obviously again old, but I've seen this happen so many times. I remember when they got Benitez.
It's nice to know I'm young.
Yeah, you're not. No. You're a lot older than Beth is, I'm afraid. How old are you, by the way, now? 50.
Yeah.
You're just lucky. Tough times. Anyway, going back
Tell
to
us in the chat,
I remember
how
in
old do you think I am?
2004 when Benitez and Mourinho, they were going for those two, and it ended up being Benitez. So this isn't the first time that Liverpool have been embroiled in a saga of getting a manager with another team. But just have to keep an open mind, because having said that, look at last night and De Zerbi at Brighton.
Yeah.
4-0 at Roma. I know they've had injuries, and Brighton is Brighton, and that Brighton are in the knockout stages of the Europa League itself is a massive achievement, but that wasn't particularly a great result. And Sporting drew with Atalanta, didn't they? 1-1. So
Yeah. Cards on the table. I just wouldn't touch De Zerbi. I just think he's in the right. He's in the right place at the right time.
Is it the
The
gel?
hair gel's not great, but he's also in the right place at the right time. And I feel like Brighton. They make Graham Potter look good at Brighton because they've got a good system. And what success to Brighton. I just think Alonso is just another level of aura. And all right, we talk experience, but if Alonso wins the Bundesliga, he's probably achieved more in 3-4 years as a manager than De Zerbi.
So if
And
it's
that's
one
not
of-
knocking
if
De Zerbi.
it's not one of those three, who else is there?
Well, there will be managers.
Yeah,
won't there?
I'm
There
asking
will-
you, I'm asking you.
I don't know. I'm not. I'm
Are
not
there any in the
someone-
Premier League that you'd want to see take over at Liverpool?
Oof. Realistic. I don't know. Probably not.
Not
Probably
Arteta?
No.
I know he wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't mind seeing him at Liverpool. That'd be
No,
funny.
no.
And-
He'd never do it though for the Everton links as well.
And probably if you made me pick a realistic one.
Do, do you know that he's older than Klopp?
I know.
Yeah.
No.
Is he?
Yes, 58.
You're only as old as you
56.
feel.
Yep.
Aren't you? So, should we talk a little bit about Sparta Prague?
There
Was a game
Was there
last
a
night.
game?
Yeah,
Okay.
Klopp always says this. There was a game. Yeah. Well, let's talk about Darwin Nunes to begin with, because funnily enough, I was watching the game last night. It was editing, and I saw one of those. I know I shouldn't get drawn in by those banter accounts on Twitter, but I saw one of those banter accounts tweeting.
I did see you retweet that, actually.
Who is this, and what have you done with
Was
Darwin
it
Nunes?
my account?
But Beth, I just. He's going to be one of those types of players. He's never going to lose. He could score 30 goals this season, and he might end up scoring 30 goals this season, and he still won't shake this tag of like Darwin Nunes is. I mean, the chaos thing probably really doesn't do him any favours, does it? Because what more can you ask for your striker? I mean, the two brilliant goals. The second goal, I know the first one looks amazing, but the second one I thought was just so well taken by a guy just in full confidence in himself at the moment. But what more does he have to do to get people to take him seriously?
Yeah, that was really passionate.
I'm
really moved me there.
You know, I don't really want to hear about Darwin Nunes chaos anymore. I kind of want to hear about Darwin Nunes results because that's what he gives at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. I think he's probably still suffering a little bit from the fact that he came to the league at the same time as Erling Haaland, because there was a lot of comparisons drawn between the two of them when they both came to England. Obviously similar ages. You know, on paper, Haaland was the cheaper signing. Of course, I think all of the other add-ons behind the scenes would probably see that not be true. But
more football banter.
Yeah.
With the Z.
And then obviously you have the Community Shield where Haaland misses an absolute sitter and Nunes scores, and you get people on social media sort of saying, oh well, Nunes is going to have a better season, and ultimately obviously Haaland goes on and wins the treble. So I think he's still suffering the consequences of that, because he's never going to be Erling Haaland, but I don't think Liverpool fans want him to be. I think he is the perfect striker for this Liverpool team at the moment, and I think we've spoken a lot. We've probably spoken about him every single week, haven't we, this season, whether for good reasons or bad. But ultimately, the overarching theme has been that Liverpool are a better team with him on the pitch, and I think there's been times where we've wanted him to translate all of those good things, whether it be his work ethic, whether it be his ability to be a nuisance to defenders or set up teammates. We've wanted him to sort of yield genuine, consistent results, and that's what he's doing now. I think he's got 8 goals, 3 assists in his last 10 games for the club. I mean, you can't really ask for too much more than that from a centre forward.
I mean, 16 goals and 11 assists in all competitions this season now. I mean, that's just a really good return, isn't it? And I think the likes of Haaland and Salah as well, and to be honest, the success of Liverpool's front three before Nunes came along has elevated our expectations. But I mean, we're what, 2/3 of the way through the season? It's a really, really good return, isn't it? And he's posting great numbers. He's kind of, I think early in the season, I remember sitting on these pods talking about, will he fulfil his potential? I think he is fulfilling his potential, isn't he?
Don't forget as well that his recent numbers, most of them have come when Salah wasn't playing.
True,
So they've had to have somebody step up, and he's done that. Not just him, because you look at Diaz has done exactly the same thing. Jota had as well before he got injured.
Yeah.
But I just somebody comes very unfair. But with Nunes, you mentioned then about chaos. When was the last time we wrote that? We just don't do it anymore.
Well, no, but it's still the overriding narrative around.
Then it's coming back to the Man City thing at the start, the narrative of them. Can you ever change it? I don't know. I think with Nunes, I just don't think he's bothered, to be honest. You saw that with the Andy Carroll stuff, with the chance he probably can't understand them. Although I'm pretty sure he does, to be fair. I'm pretty sure he does. And every time someone's doing that lately, he just goes on and scores against them. And a lot of his goals are important ones. The first goal, which wasn't great keeping, was it? Let's be honest.
No, but it was still
it was a great hit. It was a great hit, but the keeper probably got to do a bit better with that one. But that was at a time when Liverpool were under a bit of pressure, because Sparta had actually started quite well, even though they were 1-0 down. And I think when it went 2, it just took the game away from them a little bit. And then his third one was a very, very good finish from a player who last year would probably have took that 5 seconds earlier and launched it into the orbit.
Yeah, he allowed it to bounce, didn't he, and then just struck it so sweetly. I love a sweet strike. Quick one. Just
can you have a soundly struck volley?
We were talking about the other day. What is your favourite type of goal? Like long range, volley, dribble, passing move?
I think one of my favourite Liverpool goals, I'm not quite sure what you would term this.
This is only a very small segment, so
sorry, I'll throw you off. On International Women's Day as well.
TikTok,
TikTok. We're on that as well now.
The West Ham away counter-attacking goal where is it Shaqiri who plays? No, plays it to Salah, and it's Salah just like the most exquisite touch to finish it. I'm not quite sure what you would describe that as.
It was a bit like
There was one at
that kind of
Burnley as well that
finish.
Shaqiri scored, actually.
yeah, that was the
quite
last
similar.
minute as well, wasn't it, with the
Yeah.
flowing move? Yeah, a flowing move with first time passes
Yeah.
to go from one into the other.
Yeah.
And
I like that.
a really neat little finish.
Although for me, any goal that goes in, as long as they
Yeah.
go in
That's a good
really,
answer.
as long
That's
as
a
they
good
go
answer.
in really early, so I can get my stuff done before the end, and no of this last minute goal nonsense. Come on, pack it in.
Right. Alexis McAllister, that's the other one I
He's
wanted to
quite
talk
good,
about.
isn't he?
He's
Yeah.
very good, isn't
How
he?
good was that pass, by the way, for the goal? It was a great pass. And he did so well to win the penalty. And the Liverpool have finally got themselves a penalty taker that isn't Mo Salah. You know, when Milner left, they were kind of umming and ahhing over who should take him. I think Nunes missed a couple. No, he missed one, didn't he? Yeah, missed one, scored one. And have they had any other penalties? I can't even remember. I don't think so.
Sorry?
Have they had any other penalties? I can't remember. That Nunes, Salah, I think even Salah's missed a couple, but you know, as long as McAllister just tucked it away, and that kind of sums up the mood he's in at the moment. Since he's been pushed a bit further forward, he's making a massive difference. Yeah. And I've said this before, he's become the player that I saw when anybody watched the games in July and August saw in the summer. You could just tell he was going to be really good for Liverpool, and that's proven the case now.
Yeah, I mean, he's becoming massively influential, isn't he, in Liverpool's midfield?
Yeah, I think he's got something like 6 goal contributions in his last 5 games playing.
You've been reading all these stats, haven't you?
Yeah, I have, yeah. I just love Alexis McAllister. I could sit and read about his stats all day long, but I think it was interesting because that first game when he moved sort of into that number 8 role, there was a lot of talk of actually maybe he was better in the 6, but we're starting to see now him being able to influence games further up the pitch, which is great to see. And he's got a real partnership with Endo and with Nunes as well. As a couple of times now he's set him up this season, and they've got the little celebration that they do together, which is really lovely. And
how do you pronounce the drink?
Is it mate? Is it
just
mate
mate?
or
It's
mate?
just mate, isn't it?
It's
mate.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Have we got any South American viewers who could?
I don't think it's mate. I think it might be mate.
It does matter.
Continue.
But yeah, he is. For me, he's
you
probably.
You should never laugh at your own jokes. Sorry, Beth.
For me, he's probably up there for signing of the season in terms of when you look at the outlay for him and what he's come in and produced, and a team that many people, Coffee and Doyle, expected to be finding the feet this season.
Fifth. Put the camera on it.
It's not finished
Make
yet.
him apologise.
It hasn't finished yet.
On the end of the season,
it's not over.
I want you to look into that
Season's
camera
not over.
there, and I want you to say, "I am sorry. I'm sorry. I disrespected this Liverpool team."
Ian Doyle, who by the way still doesn't think Liverpool are in a title race.
Who said
in
that?
a title race.
Well, you don't think they're in with a shout of winning the league.
When have I ever said that?
I've got the proof.
Oh yeah, whatever.
Go on.
Couple
But-
of documents.
Yeah. Anyway, this has all got a bit heated. But Alexis,
Is it a controversial document?
Controversial document.
Alexis McAllister is incredible, and hopefully will continue his rich vein of form to the end of the season.
Funny enough, Liverpool, the 3 midfield players they've signed. I mean, start of the season. Four. Sorry, Ryan Gravenberch. I apologise. But the 3 that have played the most. We talked all in the start of the season. It was Szoboszlai, totally in awe of how good he was, and he's been a cracking signing for Liverpool. Endo is the best player in the world, and best player who ever lived to play for Liverpool, other than Emil Heskey, and Alexis McAllister is now up there as well. So just 3 really, really good signings. I love Endo, by the way. I think just a very quick, with him winning the ball high up the pitch for them to win the penalty yesterday and win the early chance as well, when Nunes sort of went.
I was a little bit concerned during the parts of the first and second half where he seemed to forget how to play football, but I think we'll let him off.
I just think he's great. I just think he really. I really like him. Anyway, we'll move on to picking our team. I think we'll pick our team.
Anything else to chat about? Nothing else happened.
Was there? Actually, what I did want to ask you, and we've had a couple of questions about Richard Hughes.
Yes.
Who is somebody who is
Excuse you.
Sorry.
who's been linked with Liverpool Sporting Director role. He's someone that
Big
Michael Edwards knows well.
Edwards. Yeah.
Has done a good job at Bournemouth, responsible for a lot of the good signings they made. Tell us more, Ian Doyle. You've written about him in a few pieces.
Yeah, well, it's funny because he was brought up in Italy and he was on the books at Atalanta. Bear in mind, he's a Scotland international. Basically, his parents obviously British, and his dad was working over there. He was brought up over there. He ended up at Arsenal's youth team and had his career playing. People might remember him playing for Portsmouth and Bournemouth, actually. But since he retired, what was it, about 10 years ago? He's progressed on the recruitment team at Bournemouth, and yeah, you're right. He's become a big name again in these circles that we don't really see. But every now and again, you get a glimpse of it when somebody talks about people such as Michael Edwards, such as Richard Hughes, such as the guy at West Ham, Tim Steeton, I think that's how you pronounce it, who was at Leverkusen before West Ham and obviously did quite a lot in building their squad and getting Alonso to the club, which was a kind of a big deal for somebody like that to go to Leverkusen. So yeah, Richard Hughes, he's got the track record. He can speak obviously quite a few languages, like we've seen that with Julian Ward, how helpful that can be, depending on who you want to sign.
Did he play for Portsmouth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I literally said that. Yeah,
just said,
you
sorry.
weren't listening, were you?
Well,
Did you zone out?
Hosting's a big job. You have to read questions
Which
from
is
listeners.
why Steve
Move on
Killen
to
is
the
much better at it.
Hey, cut that out, Ian. Get that cut out.
Yeah, so basically, yeah, he is somebody who's one of the 4, 5, 6 people that have been mentioned. And again,
Did he play for Grimsby Town as well? Did you mention that? Didn't
okay,
mention
that's
that.
enough.
235 points. Sorry, go on.
He is one of those people mentioned, and it obviously comes with the reputation of somebody who, certainly for Liverpool fans who are watching the Premier League, can actually see some of the fruits of his labour with Bournemouth. He also helped appoint their manager whose name is escaping me.
Areola.
That's him, yeah. Andoni's his first name, yeah. So there we go.
He was born in Italy, of course. Scotland international.
I've said this.
I'm only joking. Started work for Penguin Books.
I'm sure he did I'm sure he did the co-commentary on BT Sport when they've had Italian, when they existed for a start, and when they had Italian football. I'm sure I've heard him on that as well.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It sort of sounds like a plan, doesn't it? Michael Edwards, Richard Hughes, Xabi Alonso. Sounds like a plan to me. Let's pick our teams for.
We haven't done the injuries.
So, let's quickly talk injuries. For a couple of more questions,
Yeah, go.
including one on injuries.
Go.
So, if Edwards returned, does Klopp stay? No.
No.
That's Klopp is definitely going. I think we're going to have to
Klopp
sort of get
has
over
gone
that
at
one.
the end of the season.
Klopp has gone there. And then how's Jota doing? So that probably takes us on to injuries. Go on in.
He's
take it
injured.
away. He's injured.
We're not gonna
International
see
break.
Well, I mean, we haven't heard too much about his progress, but the earliest it's going to be April.
I'd be surprised.
Yeah.
If
If you can get any part between now and the end of the season, I think they're expecting it.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a massive boost because the Liverpool have said after Saturday they've still got 10 more. Sunday, sorry, they've still got 10 more league games. Loads of time.
Plus potentially what? 6 more Europa League games.
Just stick with the league.
So there's quite a lot of games. But what I'm trying to say is, could be looking at like 20 games for the end of the season. So
yeah,
a lot of football
like
to
that,
play. Konate, Klopp wasn't really drawn in, was he, in the press conference, Beth? I don't think that's a good sign for the weekend.
No, he didn't look good. I mean, it just looked like a hamstring injury immediately, didn't it? At the time, was quite reassuring to hear Klopp say after the game that he seemed quite positive about it.
Yeah.
But we know he's someone who's had issues with niggling injuries like that in the past. He's had 2 hamstring problems already this season, hasn't he? I think so.
I don't think Liverpool are in the position to take chances.
No, I don't think, especially against Manchester City, it's not the sort of game where he's going to have a really quiet day at the office. He needs to be at his best, and if he's not, which I think the chances of him being at his best are probably pretty slim. Whether Jurgen Klopp wanted to keep his cards close to his chest a little bit this morning, who knows? I mean, if he's fit enough to make the squad, then that would be encouraging for Liverpool. But I can't see him starting unless it was a real precaution. But he did look like he pulled up, didn't he? Which to me indicates that he's got at least a little bit of a problem there.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if he plays. What about you?
I don't think there's any chance he's going to play, to be honest.
So, with that in mind, who would you pick at centre back?
Well, if we're going to go through the team,
Queven
I'd have
Keller
Queven in goal. The right backs, we'll go. Do you know what? It's actually quite difficult. I'll tell you why. Because Tsimikas didn't play a single minute on Thursday.
I see this.
I was expecting him to play, so I'm thinking, does he play against City? Because he played at the Etihad.
He played really well, actually. Yeah.
So I've taught myself now into starting Tsimikas at left back. Van Dijk's obviously starting, and then I don't think you can play Kwanzaa. I think he's done really well, but funny enough, I actually thought he had a little bit of a struggle yesterday. Just the way that the game went, certainly the first half. Wasn't entirely his fault. There wasn't much protection. Klopp mentioned it, but it was a bit of a learning experience for him. And if you got Gomez in there, he can play centre back, obviously. Although I think he's only started 2 or 3 games this season there. But last season, his best game of the season was against Man City at home, playing centre back. I'm pretty sure. So I'd have him, and I'd have Conor Bradley. Obviously, then has to play right back. Although I would imagine had Konate not been fit, it would have been Konate centre back and Gomez right back.
Yeah, agree with all of that.
Yeah, I would agree as well. I think if Konate was completely fit and available, which we think is unlikely, but if he was, he starts at centre back, and then I'd have Gomez at right back, purely because I think Liverpool don't have, a vast wealth of attacking options to bring off the bench at the moment. And I think Conor Bradley, as brilliant as he is, and as much as I've got no problem with him starting against City, I think he's the sort of player, if it's a tight game, you bring him on. It's almost like bringing an attacker on because of what he's able to do higher up the pitch. So I think if there was a chance to bring Bradley off the bench, I think that would be quite good. But yeah, it's looking like he's probably going to have to start at right back and Gomez centre half.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's going to come down to a lot of those individual battles, and it is a shame because I think Konate is so good when you're pushed right up the pitch and they break. He wins a lot of those races, doesn't he? But Gomez is no slouch, and yeah, it'll be. I think it'll be a real test of Bradley. And like you say, I think I probably would have preferred, and I'm sure Liverpool would have played Gomez at right back had he been available. So go on, Beth, you can take it away with your midfield.
Take it away.
Take it away.
I think it picks itself, doesn't it, really? I think Endo, Szoboszlai and McAllister. I think maybe Szoboszlai, Doyley's pulling a face. I don't know.
That's just my normal face.
Maybe Szoboszlai, I don't know, maybe he's not fit to start, but I think he certainly looked a lot sharper than he did against Forest. So Endo, McAllister, Szoboszlai for me.
I'm
Do
gonna
you
pick
agree?
Yeah, I do actually. Endo, McAllister, Szoboszlai. What would you pick?
Endo
Szoboszlai, yeah.
Yes, the same three. So I'll let
Have
you
we
pick.
picked the same teams so far?
We have done.
Oh, this is going to be
You put
interesting.
Tsimikas in, actually.
Yeah, I did.
Did you pick-
But
did
you
you pick
agreed. But
Robertson?
you agreed.
I agree with Ian. He made a compelling.
You made
case
a compelling case, but I just don't see it.
Well, then you should have said that, shouldn't you?
I don't know. I just can't see him dropping Robertson for
Can Widnes
Tsimikas.
and St Helens never get on?
No.
Let's, you know
Well,
what?
now that
For
Fiddler's
argument's
Ferry's
sake,
going.
I'll agree with you. We'll put Tsimikas in.
Now that Fiddler's Ferry's going,
Who does the dream belong to?
That's
St
us.
Helens.
That's St
Yeah.
Helens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
We
we
are-
own
we
the
are-
ice-
we are-
we own the ice rink, so it's
We
fine.
are living the dream, whereas they are a chemical nightmare.
Wow. Victoria Park or the Dream? Is the Dream? What's the park called? The Dream's in
It's
not in
actually
a park.
It was on I think it's a form of mine, isn't it? A pit. Yeah.
a pit.
Do we have pits?
Victoria
Pits
Park.
challenge.
Whilst we pick our team, Victoria Park or the Dream. Where would you rather walk your dog?
Victoria Park, because it's got like a nice little cafe and stuff
Well,
as
hang on,
well.
there's a Victoria Park in St Helens. Which one are you talking about?
Victoria Park and St Helens versus Victoria Park.
never been,
This
so-
is the real
Yeah.
quiz. Right, pick your front three.
All right, well, it's going to have to be Nunes and Diaz. Nunes down the middle and Diaz on the left. Now, bearing in mind
lost
everything
half
else that
hour,
we've just said, I'm going to play Harvey Elliott at right forward, I should say. I'm going to play Harvey Elliott
Instead
on
of
the
who?
right, instead of Gakpo. Salah's not playing. Salah will be on the bench and he'll come on for half an hour. Salah's had like 4 training sessions. He will not start against Man City.
Yeah, I think I'd love Salah to start, but if he starts, then he's got to come off, hasn't he, on before the hour mark. And I think it's unlikely that Liverpool will have the game sewn up in the first hour. We know they're very much sort of a second half team, so I think maybe you bring him on at half time or after 60 minutes if the game's tight and you need a goal. I don't know. I mean, if he's completely fit to start, I think Salah will make a case to try and start.
I think that's crazy talk. I think he starts.
I
think,
just
I
don't-
think they've
I-
been managing it and they've prepped him for this, and he will start. And
think
I think they will bring him off. I think he will go off with say 30.
Well, they never sub him
But I
though.
think he starts. Should we have another bet?
Oh no, I'm not having another bet. I haven't got any money left.
Who won the
I
last
would have
bet?
done some. There you go.
What was
Hang
Well,
on,
he
I
wasn't.
won.
He wasn't.
I
No,
won.
he wasn't fit.
Yeah, but
It was-
it's
I
just that we
said
didn't play.
if he's fit, he will play, and the bet was always if he's fit. You can't like.
True, but I was
True,
more
true,
right.
thank
True,
you.
but I was more right.
No, you weren't. You said
didn't
if he
play.
was fit, he wouldn't play.
He wasn't fit and he didn't play.
If he was fit, it doesn't even matter. He wasn't available. He couldn't have been picked. If he was fit, he would have played. I can't even remember what game it was, but he would have
It was
played.
Wembley. It was the
It was Wembley,
final.
yeah,
It was the
yeah,
final, yeah.
Yeah,
Which he was
fit.
never going to play.
He didn't play. So the bet is null and void. Null and void. Get rid of it. Asterix. Well, I can't remember. He's in my team anyway.
So
he
you're
plays.
picking
I
Salah?
think Salah plays. I honestly think that they will have managed this and they will have this in mind.
Yeah, I
can
do.
imagine that you've
I
come
do
off,
sort
but-
of agree with that. I do think this has been the one that's been on the horizon, and that's maybe why they've not risked him as much over the last couple of weeks.
I also would argue don't often see Klopp. Like look at last night, for example. He doesn't go, we'll give it a go in the second leg and try and win it there. He likes to try and win it
Yeah.
and then and then make the changes. So I don't think he would imagine, oh, well, we'll try and keep it tight and then bring Salah on. He's more likely, I think, to play him from the start and bring him off. But it would be Salah, Nunes, and Diaz for me.
Congratulations.
Bye.
I'm just saying, congratulations.
Thank you. Give us a score prediction. Beth, we'll start with you because he will inevitably say Liverpool are going to lose this game.
Liverpool 2-1 win.
Agreed. Yeah.
I'm going to go Liverpool to win 2-1.
Wow. A clean sweep.
Oh,
Clip that in. Clip that again.
this is the first time I've ever heard.
He's writing it down. He's clipping it.
The first time I've ever heard LFC hatery and Doyle be
Yeah.
positive about
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah, born
Look at that. Someone called him a negative Nancy on the pod.
A
the other
negative
week.
Nancy?
He
Who
is
said
not a
that?
negative
Who-
Nancy. He's a
turn that-
positive
turn that
Pete.
page. I want to see
Yeah.
who said
Liverpool 2-1. No,
Oh,
on the other week. The other week.
that. Oh, the other week.
I'll find it for you one.
All right.
But look at that. We've turned him. By the end of the season, he'll be predicting Liverpool to win everything.
And then you'll be saying, oh, you said they'd finish 5th. You're bringing a downer to everybody.
Yeah, you're going to look into that camera and you're going to apologise. Before we go,
Can we do a back page?
if people want to read your positive tweets or when Liverpool get corners, where can they find
And
you?
when the game starts and when people get booked.
Yeah.
At Ian Doyle Sport, or if you want to have a look on Threads, the lesser spotted Threads, or Instagram, where for some reason I now have 32,000 followers after Wembley, that's Ian_Doyle_sport.
You're throwing a few cat pics on Instagram as well, don't you?
One.
There you go. There you go.
You're more likely to see a KFC,
KFC and cats.
though that's not linked.
Okay.
Not Kentucky Fried Cat.
Kentucky Fried Cat. Well, it could be the stuff they throw in.
Oh, says now.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Beth, where can we find you on social media if we'd like to follow you?
At Beth_Lindop. No, at Beth_Lindop on Twitter. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Okay, right.
Don't
Didn't
die.
think it was that exciting. No, really.
At Joe Rimmer 88.
Is that your age?
That is my age, 88. Yeah, 89 this year. Thank you so much for listening. Give us a like, subscribe, hit the like button. There's only 11 here. There's 142 of you watching right now. I want all 144. I want all 144 of you on YouTube to like that button. Come on, hit those thumbs up for us.
Thumbs up.
Give us a rating on if you really like this awful botched job of a presentation. Give us a rating on Apple.
Hang on, if Theo would have said
give us
that,
a like
you'd have
on Facebook.
absolutely lost it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I would.
That's
Yeah,
poor.
but that's the
Embrace
Them's
the
the
chaos.
perks of the job.
Nunes is no longer chaos. We are.
Yeah, we are chaos. They're all leaving us. That number is dropping. So thank you so much for listening. We better wrap it up. We'll see you again on Monday to hopefully talk about a Liverpool win and to get one step closer to Ian Doyle apologising. And that is the real quiz. Good night. Ta-ra.